All right, guys, here we go with another year. We're gonna review people's videos that has been submitted through the SG Timer Drills app, right? So I have a shooter here by the name of William Martinson, and I'm going to break down your video, and I'm gonna get to see it right now. It shows a couple things, so I'm just gonna show it flat by itself without interruption. Yep. He then proceeds to show you the hits and stuff like that. The hits are pretty good. I can fast forward a little bit here. You can see there's an Alpha Charlie right there. The next target is 2 Alpha up and down. And the next target is a Charlie on the right and an Alpha in the center. And the last target is 2 Alphas. So yeah, it's a pretty good video. This one shows kind of a couple things. The first position here should have been executed slightly differently. First of all, before we even get to the movement, I could tell right off the bat after, I'm gonna pause this here. All right, so he's got 4 shots recorded right now, and what I see is the first shot was 1.68, second shot 192, split time 0.24, transition time 0.46, and then another 238, 0.25 split, and a 263. So what I'm seeing there right now is all of those numbers, and that information tells me how he shot the first 4 targets. And from what I could tell, it looks like that target's not that far away. So that target, they're not far away from him standing and where the targets are, and they're also very close to each other. It's called a narrow transition where the target's right next to each other. Anything that, if I raise my hand and stand between any target that falls in between this hand, if I go from my shoulder, right, and raise my hand, anything that falls between there is considered narrow transition. Whenever you have that narrow transition, what you gotta understand is utilize the skill set of learning how to track your sights and bump transition. And you have to learn, especially in this instance, he has 2 open targets. They should be shot in almost seamlessly transition from target to target as if he was still shooting the same target. This should have sounded as if 4 shots were shot in the same target instead of 2 shots shot and another 2 shots shot on a different target. It should have sounded like 4 shots were strung together because the targets were so close to each other. So right there, right off the bat, he lost about 0.2 seconds. And then his exit was very much delayed. To me, I have this rule I operate on. If it's an attack target, if it's a wide open target, depending on the distance, obviously, 30 yards and out, no, but 25 yards and in, to me, that's easy enough. For you guys, maybe a little bit less, or some of you guys maybe a little bit more if you're better than me. What I would do is I would start to lean and utilize some sort of exit. So on this instance, from the first position, what you can see here as he comes across after that first position, he doesn't initiate his movement until after he's taken his last shot. And then when he takes his last shot, then he takes his first initiate into the movement. As you can see there, we'll repeat it again, pop, 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 and then he exits. And then he exits. So with that said, what is causing him there is about another half-second delay before he can actually engage the next target. There's a bunch of different things that's happening on this video. As he shoots to the middle, remember when I said his middle target was an Alpha Charlie on the right and an Alpha in the middle? A lot of that is because he broke down his upper half and his lower half. He broke it down to transition to the target as he shifted his weight to move into the middle position, and then he had to rotate. So what happened is he gave himself 2 different platforms or structure to shoot from, causing him to over transition and correct as he comes around that middle position. So just the first position into the middle position, the way I would have moved is I would have came in that position, I would have shot. And the way he did it, he drew, fired 2 shots, bam, bam, bang, bang, and then transitioned here and then rotated as he comes across. And that you can see that I have a very much compromised structure because my lower body is moving this way, my upper body is trying to rotate towards the target, making those small corrections. So the first thing right off the bat is I'm looking for an exit out of the first position since it's easy target. So what I'm looking for is bop, 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 bop. So during the middle transition, whether I pick my feet up or bop, 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 do this kind of exit, right, the cross step lean, it depends on what the next target is. To me, the next target seems to be 1 step into the position. He immediately was able to shoot, so that target was there. So for now, what I would do is actually load up the leg right off the bat, have a very light percentage of weight in terms of this weight, in terms of this foot. So when I draw my gun, boom, boom. During the transition, I will actually pick that feet up, right? I'm not gonna go fire 2, transition, and then pick my feet up, because if I do that, I'm disturbing the sight picture once my gun's on target. What I would actually do is fire 2. On the transition, I will actually just pick my feet up, and that will naturally bring my entire structure to the next target. 1, 2, 3, 4, as I start to exit, and that will lead me, his stick was right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that will lead me immediately to the next position. All I have to do is utilize this step as my transition, and that will allow for me to maintain my structure to steady before I even cross this step. Instead, the way he did it, when he took a step, boom, boom, and you can see this step got too far forward because he didn't blend the two positions together. The better way to execute that would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then run off in there. And by doing this, utilizing a lean here and then another lean here, by holding and keeping his foot back here, what he's actually doing is building up that energy to propel himself while he fires 2 shots in a stable platform, essentially, as much as this is compromised because you're moving a little bit. Stable platform because his hips and shoulders squared to the target. What he's doing is, by leaving his foot back here, it's allowing him to build that energy. So by the time I'm done shooting, I have to take that quick step forward, because that propels me to the next position. What he did there was he went 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he immediately did this 1, 2. He stepped here, and then he ended up having to take off into the last position. I want to do all of that all at the same time. So essentially in slow motion, it's going to look like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then take off immediately. As you can see, that's the only time I need to be fast, because that's the only bigger space there is, as opposed to what he did. He went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then he tried to run after that cross step, which is the I would say the not preferred method of being able to execute. There's always 3 things I'm looking for, especially in easy targets, in each position. He had 3 positions: 1, 2, and 3. Is he able to blend the targets together? His rhythm. Is he able to enter cleanly while exiting cleanly as well? This time around, there was no entry here. It's just a draw. So I could tell you right now, in 2 out of the 2 that he would have had, blending the targets and exiting the position, that would have been 2 points that he could have gained in here in terms of the way I look at stages and efficiency. 2 points of 2 components of efficiency, 2 points, I would say 1 point for each. He didn't take advantage of a blend, so that's -1. And he didn't take advantage of an exit while leaning, an efficiency leaning on that particular area, position number 1. So he was -0, where I would have been +2 points on him, because I would have utilized those 2 things. And then in the middle, I had a better entry coming in with a better structure, leaving this foot back so not disturb my structure. The second I start to do this, it starts to separate my lower half from my upper half. Now I'm twisted up on this, and it's a much more compromised structure. This is a much more predictable structure, and that's why I leave that foot back, in order for me to maintain that structure to shoot 2 solid rounds on there, as opposed to over transition Charlie having to overcorrect into the alpha for his run. And then also the last thing is to be able to build that energy in order for me to exit into a full run, as opposed to him taking a step here and then trying to launch yourself to a run with this leg, trying to come around there, which is not an optimal. I would rather go from here to a run as opposed to from here to a run, which is a really weird movement. So it's unnatural. As much as that is awkward, you want to try to take advantage of your straight up and down structures. The last and final thing that I see here is coming into the final position. Coming into the last final position, he kind of just stands straight up. And that's the only thing there. So in that regard, I probably would say he lost 0.2 easily on the first position. On that transition alone, his 4th to 5th shot, 0.77. That should have been about 0.5. So that's another 0.4. I mean, yeah, that should have been about 0.4-ish. So he lost about 0.3 of a second. That transition going there. So he lost about a good close to maybe 3/4 of a second in this overall stage, and then not being able to propel, not exiting sooner. So there's a full second that he could have gained on this particular drill without affecting his shots much at all. His accuracy I'm talking about. All right, so that was Williams' little stage. So hopefully that helps you, sir. We're gonna move on to the next one. Gabriel Theorist, this will be yours, sir. This is your video. So I'm not gonna finish watching this video. I saw a lot of lost time in the front half of this video. All right, so I'm gonna play this video, the initial thing. Again, I'm looking for an entry, blend, and an exit. If I don't have a blend, because I only have one target in this particular instance, the first three positions only had one target, so I can't say blend, right? So there's none of that. So the maximum points of efficiency that he can get is 2. He has an entry and an exit. On the first position, he doesn't have much of that. It's just standing still, so he should have an exit. And the way his rate of fire sounds like, it sounds like they're easy targets. So that's what I'm just going with. I'm assuming their attack targets. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least the first 5 targets were attack targets. So I'm gonna check for an exit on the first position if he's moving out of it while he's shooting that. And then I'm gonna check how he enters the next position. If his gun is up in front of his eyes, is he seeing the sights just before the target? All that stuff, or is he seeing the target, then bringing his gun into the eyes? That could be the next thing. And then is he exiting again into that particular area? So I'm looking for an entry and an exit, combine both, because in terms of efficiency, not necessarily trying to speed you up and shooting. What I'm looking for is, are you doing multiple actions in one? So it's fairly simple. If I start looking for multiple actions, what am I looking for? Entries, exits, and blends. So we'll see what you're doing here. Without my interruption, I'm just gonna watch the first 5 targets. All right, so the first 5 targets, that was the first part to 5 targets. There was actually a fumble draw there. I didn't know he stepped into the reload. So the biggest thing on this first position right here, so he gets in this position. The problem is, however, he goes 1, 2 without having to move at all. I would have come into that position, whether my gun was stuck or not, but I would have, as I'm shooting this target, I would have been fading out 1, 2 as I move into the next position. And these next positions seems like it's only taking 2 to 3 steps, no more than 3 steps, just really 2 steps. So it would have been a shuttle step with my gun up. How quickly I exit, 1, 2, gun up again, 1, 2, and I continue to shift my weight. So I'm not gonna sit there static like the way he does. He goes 1, 2, run, 1, 2, run again, 1, 2. When you do that, you're bringing your overall momentum on the stage back down to 0 each and every time. The more zeros I have in terms of my momentum, in terms of movement, the less my time and efficiency is. So I want to learn how to come in the position and exit. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So constantly shifting your weight to increase that momentum all the way through. So by doing that, that will allow you to shave off a ton of time in that first half. He completely stops and he actually ends up drop stepping on every single position. Not drop step, that's a lead foot pivot. That's a lead foot pivot. That's a drop step. And that one actually was good. That's how it should kind of look like when you're shooting attack targets. However, he gets his gun up late around this corner. Yep, he waits to kind of essentially see a clear path to the target before he brings his gun up. So it kind of puts this next 2 targets kind of at risk, closer to DQ, right? Because 180, the later I present on the gun, and then now the faster I have to shoot, because if I'm running too fast, I might break the 180, but the sooner I shoot it, the more I keep the targets in front of me. So let's just continue to watch that. Let me do that again. Let me watch that. Yes. Yep, again, he does what I call the swiping the curtain technique here, right here. Yep, what I mean by swiping the curtain is as he comes into position, he does this. And the target's over here, the port's over here. He gets here, and then he swipes the curtain, as if there's a curtain here that he's trying to swipe to see, as opposed to building that structure just before the position. So by the time I sit into that position, I already have my gun pointed in that direction. So it's all about learning how to set up with the toe index, bring in there. To him, he came in here doing this, rotated with the barricade, and that's what delays a little bit. All these little delays is what I call death by 1,000 cuts. The more you do these inefficiencies, the longer your time becomes. So in the first position there alone, by losing all those momentum, I would say probably at least a second and a half already on those first 3 positions alone. Maybe, right, I'm being a little bit conservative here. So let's say 1.3 1 second to 1.5 seconds, depending on how well you can execute that. I'm just kind of arbitrarily understanding that the window's small, but you can still lean in and out of that position for sure. Coming into the next two targets, getting the gun up, that's another delay, that's 0.2. Moving into the final target, and then coming in this position, this is okay because he blended it. Gun stayed up, which is perfect, but there it is. After these two targets, 1, 2, 3, 4, this 1, 2, 3, 4 should have been merging into the right position. However, you did this 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you took off. By doing that again, you stopped your momentum from going to this side. Instead, you stopped there, boom, 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 and then you ended up having to essentially stop and then regain that speed. So there's another couple of tenths of a second there as you're shooting that area, coming around. It's okay, pick up shot there. There's a little bit hesitation. There, this right here, this exact spot right here, this could have been done a lot better. This is where I see a lot of people. That's where you lose a full second right off the bat in terms of that transition. What you're doing here, coming into this left corner, yep. So there's a big delay. Pop, 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 pop. That's the rhythm right now, right? So it, pop, 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 right? So there's a delay, right? So the rhythm is off, pop, 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 pop. And that just tells me, yep, that literally tells me that could have been done better. It's what I call entering on called a reverse lean. Even though I see the target here now, he shot it right as soon as he saw the target, right? What I would have done is I would have kind of come in a little bit closer to that target, and then instead of shooting it straight up here with the position the way he was like this, right, almost straight up into the target, what I would have positioned was almost essentially load up that leg heavy and then start bringing this leg over to the right in a kind of like wide stance as I'm setting up. Although I'm not going to touch it on the ground, what I'm going to do is continue the momentum, bop, bop, so I'm already set up for a small, quick transition without necessarily shuffling my feet to expose the next target. So what I'm doing is if I was just standing still there, it would look like this, bop, 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 if it's possible. If not, I would have released this to expose more on the next target. So however, what he did was he shot it early, not in position. He had to now run, take 2 steps in order for him to shoot 2 steps covering this ground to this, where I could have taken care of that in 1 step. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then my rhythm would now drop from going bop, bop, easily 3/4 of a second transition, bop, bop, right? I would have done bop, 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 bop. It would have been a lot quicker. It would have been a 0.3 to 0.4. So then again, you're bleeding, you're cutting, you're getting yourself death by 1,000 cuts there, being inefficient. Yep, so those right there, when it's like that, when it's broken down, you have these vision barriers, your job is to either merge the first two or merge and blend the last two, right? So either 1 and 2 position or 2nd and 3rd position. You pick and choose. In this one, I would have blended the last position into the last final static area that you're shooting in, because that was pretty much the same position that you shot the steel and everything else in the back. This in the front right here, that should have been done much better. That was only 2 to 3 steps, maybe. Yeah, literally 2 steps and a skip. So it could have been done in a wider stance and all that stuff. So overall, you lost easily on just movement and setting up in your position, and inefficiencies, probably, I don't know. My guess would be 3 to 4 seconds. I don't know. That's just my wild guess. I don't know what you're running. You seem like you're shooting fast enough, but I don't know. I would say 3 to 4 seconds that you would have lost on there. Right, so yeah, enter shooting position comfortably. How do I turn the corner with the most speed? Exactly what I just talked to you about. Learning how to load that leg so you can get out of position, right? So that would be pretty much how to make this run faster. You're thinking about shooting it faster. You don't need to shoot it faster. You just need to learn how to move correctly inside and outside. Learn how to adjust your footwork a little bit. That would be a really big change that I would do for you. All right, let's check out this next guy right here, the last guy. Let's see if I can find one. He's got an overlay on this. Damn, he's fast. Hold up a second. God damn, that was fast. Jeez. All right. Even just watching that, this is a really cool video. With good hits, C-zones, really easy to identify and break down because you can hear instantly what's this guy's name. He's fast. Mitchell Graft. So Mitchell Graft, spin is really fast. God dang, I like that spin a lot. All right, so yep, I could tell by just, this is why I like the overlay, because what I'm looking for is the transition. Yep, you had some 0.19s and some 0.33, some 0.18, 0.27. See that big gaps in difference? Your split times 0.18 or 19, and then the transition 0.33, back down to 0.18, back to 0.27. This is what I'm looking here from shot 4, 314, 0.27 coming into that target, 0.18 split into that target, 0.33 transition in your last target, 384 before the reload, right? And then, so 10 rounds into it, I got 152 reload, 0.26 split, 0.29, which that's way better, 0.29. And then you went right back down to a 0.20, back up to 0.27, and then your last two shots is 0.22. See how these up and downs happening? What I'm seeing there is your inability to be able to track your sights. You're also not blending the target correctly because you're not exiting. Every single thing, whether you're moving your footwork or in target, you're either entering on target and exiting on target. I'm either entering in position and exiting in position. So I'm always looking for these things. On this one, there's not much footwork ride. Your footwork's pretty good. You got into a solid stance after you turn around. However, shooting those 6 shots on target, it should have sounded a little bit better in regards to smoothness and in terms of your rhythm. It should have sounded like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The skill set that you're trying to learn there, when you set up something like that, is your ability to track your sights all the way through without staring through your window. What you're doing is, as soon as you shoot, you're moving your eyes, but you need to keep your awareness open, not hard focus onto the sights, because if you're doing the hard focus on the sights, what you'll actually do is lose your sight picture that you had on that target. So by the time you move here, you're almost reacting to the target by the time you get there. And that's why you had that one miss on your first shot on that next target, because essentially you were trying to shoot, outrun your own sights on that target. And then you kind of got it back and stuff like that. On the reload, you went right to left, you kind of got it back and you were able to track it. But you can see the movement of the gun. If you're watching your gun, it looks like this: 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. A reload, 1, 2, 1, 2. So there's a lot of stops in between each gun, as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, reload, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So every second shot, I'm moving and timing. So watch your gun. Pop, 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 pop. So it's 1, 2 flat, 1, 2 flat. So that's the only thing there. What you're actually relying right now is to get you to that 6.6 is actually fast shooting. I don't want you to rely on fast shooting. I need you to rely on the ability to be able to blend the targets a little better, and that's what will get you to the lower time. You probably can run this under 6 seconds easy if you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with much more consistent hits if you learn how to track your sights. Set this target up again, and I want you to ask yourself a real question and figuring out what you're actually seeing the entire time once you fire that first round. Once you fire that first round, that first exact round that you fire on that stage, that side picture, you should never essentially lose that because you have good structure. You're just bringing it all from target to target. The only thing that I see is you tend to do this 1, 2, flat, move the gun after you move your eyes. But to me, after my second shot, my gun and my eyes move together. So essentially, but my eyes can snap into position, but my gun will be in my peripheral. And during that time in peripheral, I should see my red dot coming into the target. That just allows for a lot more predictability and consistency in regards to performance. You have a lot of up and down in regards to your split from 0.19, 0.18 to 22, 27 and 28 in transition. That should be much closer together, especially big targets like that at that distance. Good job though, man. You look like you're doing a lot of good work. So hopefully that helps you as well. All right, that's it. Good job, guys.